before I call it a night, let me give you my memory of the day. If Microsoft Excel wants to open, had some sort of major Windows update last night. All right, again, it's after midnight, but this is for August 21st. All right, August 21st. This is day 46 of 366, and this is a funny. Yeah, well, this was. It didn't necessarily directly affect me, but here's the story. There was it's vehicle repairs in Memphis, Tennessee. Um, during our first, I guess technically second trip across country. The first trip we went from Johnstown and drove out to San Jose. That was across the country. The second trip across the country was coming back home. We came home on the southern route on Interstate 60. I think 60. And this was the same trip where we stopped to see the Grand Canyon. But well after that, we went through Texas. We got into Oklahoma. I had chased through tornadoes and stuff. There was a Love's gas station truck stop thing on the side. It was just totally demolished like earlier in the day by a tornado, and there was metal clanging across the road. Well, somewhere across Oklahoma there, the van, at that point it was a Windstar, started making some very concerning noises. It was just very, coming from the backside. It was like something grinding. We pulled over and looked at it and couldn't see anything, and we weren't there were no lights on anywhere, and there was nothing else happening. But we did pull over in Arkansas because we were scheduled to get into Memphis that night was the plan. So we pull over and we call AAA, and we explain what's happening, and they ask, well, what do you want to do? Do you want us to send? And we're like, well, no, it's still not a bug. I thought it was a bug. Had a giant bug on my hand yesterday, by the way, terrifying. So we're like, no, it's driving, everything seems to be okay, just make a terrible sound. So we decided we're going to shoot for Memphis. We're going to go for Memphis. And they give us a bunch of mechanics. We ask some questions. We explain that it's a wheelchair converted van. And they help us out. They call a few guys and find a place and make an appointment for early the next day. It's like 7 a.m. the next day to get the van looked at. And we're like, okay. And we explain the whole situation, like, hey, we're on a trip home. We're on kind of a schedule, so anything you can do would be great. So we take our time. We don't go crazy. We drive and when we get to our hotel in Memphis, it's in downtown Memphis. I don't remember what it was now, what the hotel was. And normally when we're doing the cross country things like that, because we don't know, we're never 100% sure. We pull into the hotels in a situation where, oh, you have to drive around the corner to your room, or, oh yeah, you're in that building over there. So usually I just, if it's a extended trip like this, we pull in. I just stay in the van. Karen gets out and does the checking in. And so we get there. It's pretty late in the evening. And we're thinking, oh man, I just hope we can get into our room and crash out so that we can get a few hours of sleep before we got to get the van to the mechanic in the morning. And so I'm waiting in the van, and it's usually about maybe a quick 4 or 5 minutes. And I'm sitting there, it's 5 minutes, nothing. 10 minutes go by. I'm thinking, man, what's going on? There's a lot of cars at the parking lot, but it's close to midnight. It's like a Monday night. It can't be that people are checking in. I wonder what's going on. 15 minutes go by. I'm starting to get worried. I'm starting to think, what's going on here? And then flashing lights behind me. It's an ambulance pulling in. I'm thinking, oh, shit. Something happened. What happened? Right around then, just as I'm starting to think, okay, don't freak out. Or am I going to yell for somebody? What's going to happen? Karen shows up. And I'm like, what is going on? And Karen goes, I'm okay. Everything's okay. And she goes, I went in. I checked in. I tell the lady who, Laszlo, and she looks it up and she goes, okay, yeah, how you going to pay for it? I give her your card. And she's a young girl. I hand her a card. I hand her your card. She takes your card, turns around, and collapses. Just collapsed. Just went down. And I was like, oh my God. Nobody else noticed. Like, Karen sees her goes down and looks around like, is anybody doing anything here? And so there's a group of people over in the lobby, and Karen goes over to them and says, does anybody know the lady behind the desk? And they all go, oh, yeah. Some of them work here, some of them are just regulars. And Karen goes, she passed out. And everyone's like, what? And so they all jump up and everything's running around. And so it results in this delay Karen's like, do we have a room? Is this girl alive? She does come to. I don't know that we ever found out what happened to her. I think it was something like she had a thing where she had to eat every so often and she didn't. I think it was something like that. So it wasn't anything serious. But it was like, where's the credit card? Where's our room? So then we finally do get a room, and the bed is terrible. There's no way to get my lift into it's a nice hotel. The room was very nice, but the bed was there was no way to prop the bed up. And we call and talk to the supervisor guy who's there, who was really appreciative that Karen saved the life of the girl behind the desk. And we explain and say, hey, yeah, here's the thing. This is what I called about 2 weeks ago and said about needing to get the lift under the bed. And so he transfers us to another room that has a fold-out couch, which the fold-out couches are terrible for me because I have the 2 metal rods in my back. So if I lay on one of those fold-out couches, those metal rods that are not only my back but go across the fold-out bed are terrible. There's no way to be comfortable. I could barely roll over. So then the guy finds up bringing in like a full other mattress from another room, like a complete mattress, and puts it up on top of the fold-out bed, which worked. And I get into that. I finally get into bed at like 3 in the morning. We wake up at 6 in the morning. We make it to our mechanic at 7. Really nice guy. He's like, oh yeah, let me take a look at this, And so he takes a look at it, and Karen and I are sitting outside. We explain again the situation to him. We sit outside. He takes it right in. And he comes back out in like maybe half an hour later, and he goes, "Hey, yeah, I can get this fixed for you today." And I was like, we were like, oh, "Okay, great. Do you have an idea? Like, are we talking all day or what?" He's like, "No, no, no. Give me 2 hours. Give me 2 hours, and I'll get it taken care of." And we're like, "That would be amazing." He's like, "Yeah, yeah." And he points and goes, "Hey, there's a nice little diner over there, a great breakfast." So we go over to this place called, I don't remember, DV's Diner or something like that. But we went in there, great place. Had a great little breakfast. Um, there was actually this could be a separate story, but I'll throw it in here too. Where I got some bacon and eggs, and they said, and the lady, who the waitress was saying, she goes, "How do you like your eggs?" And I said, "Can I get them poached?" And she's like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Poached? Hey!" And I just, "Jim, you know poaching eggs?" And he's like, "Nah." And he's like, "We don't poach eggs." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And can I just get it like over, like kind of like over hard. All right, you got it. But yeah, did not work at a diner. Didn't know what poaching was, which is good. But the eggs were fantastic. They may have been the best eggs I ever had, actually. So I can't blame them at all for anything like that. But yeah, then we got done, stepped out, guy got the car done. Barely charged us anything for it. He was like, I was like, "Yeah, we just had the brakes and everything taken care of." He's like, "And the muffler." And he's like, "Yeah, it was the muffler." And we were like, "Really? We just had that taken care of back home in Johnstown." He's like, "Well, I don't know the way they do things in Johnstown, but whoever you had do, they didn't know what they were doing." And and he's like, they welded it up under there for no reason whatsoever that I could see. I just took it out and welded where it's supposed to. You got no problem with this at all. And he was right. You know, we had whatever he did was perfectly fine for the remainder of the life of the van. But yeah, so that's my story. Oh, and then we we resumed our trek home. The plan had been to get all the way home that day. We were too tired. We wound up calling it a night in Kentucky, but that'll be another story. And there you go. That's my memory for August 21st. Our adventure in Memphis, getting our van repaired.